Well, guys, here we are coming on to my final video of 2023. That video where I share my favorite movies of 2023. Contrary to the films that I despised watching in the theater or at home on streaming, these particular films are the films that hit me to the core, the films that I loved watching, and these are the films that had the most rewatch value. Before I continue on to talk about my honorable mentions, I need to do some changes here. First of all, this is not the right wardrobe and not the right background. So really quick, I want to look cleaned up, I want to look better, and let's get looking professional. Here we go. Now that is more like it. For my final video of 2023, it is time for me to share my top 10 favorite movies of 2023. Obviously, before I continue on, just like with my top 10 worst films of 2023, a couple of guidelines must be issued as per usual. I have not seen every single film that came out this year. As a matter of fact, there were at least 10 more movies I wanted to see before I made this list. However, this year was quite a busy year. It was a very good busy year, in fact, a great busy year, but unfortunately, due to the business that happened in this particular year, I unfortunately was able to see quite a few movies that even I wanted to see. I definitely think that I saw more than enough films that I can qualify as, for at least for me, my favorite movies of this year. Second of which is this, and you guys have been hearing this ever since I've been doing these videos. This is my list. My subjective and my personal picks for my favorite films of this year. And I completely understand that the films I love are not going to be the same ones that you guys love. And I guarantee there'll be a couple of picks that will surprise the crap out of you guys. Finally, before I continue on, let's just have a great time gushing with the films that gave us the most magnificent and the most memorable experiences, whether you're at the theater or at home. Before I continue on, as y'all can imagine, I do have a couple of honorable mentions, but just like my worst films of the year, I only have 4 honorable mentions. And those honorable mentions are Gran Turismo, Tetris, Killers of the Flower Moon, and The Killer. Let's get into my top 10 favorite films of 2023 and the words of Mills Lane. Let's get it on. Number 10. When I first saw this movie back in the summertime, I was quietly hoping that this movie would sneak its way into my top 10. And man, I'm so happy that my number 10 goes to, at least in my eyes, the most underappreciated film of the year, and that is Blue Beetle. I told you guys that one pick would probably shock you guys. Blue Beetle isn't a DCEU film. Technically, this is a DCU film, and it's the first character for the DCU. Blue Beetle, at least in my eyes, was the one comic film this year that had the most personal and grounded stakes. Zolo, in which I do really apologize if I butchered his name, as Jamie Reyes, I thought was such a great character and a brilliant choice to portray the Blue Beetle. I absolutely love the family dynamic. This is a movie that I am so disappointed in the public for not going to support this film, because generally this film deserved so much more love. This movie was easily one of the most entertaining and one of the most likable and just one of the most well done comic films I had seen all year. While Blue Beetle may not be the first DCU film, at the same time, for the first character to be introduced to us from the DCU, I'm very excited to see where this character goes. Number 9. Coming on to my number 9 spot is a movie that is a mission that I continue to accept, and I'm so happy I do, because holy crap, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 kicked so much ass. Dead Reckoning Part 1 was one of the most fun times at the theater, not only this summer, but of the entire year. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is yet another awesome addition to the Mission Impossible film franchise. And for a film that, by the way, was almost 3 hours long, this is a movie that if you told me that they were playing Part 2 in the next theater, I would have happily dragged my ass into the next auditorium to go see Part 1, because Part 1 was not only that damn entertaining, but it was also that damn good. While I don't think that Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is as good as, let's say, Mission Impossible Fallout, which is still to this day, by the way, one of my favorite action films of all time, that still does not take away from the fact that Dead Reckoning Part 1 kicked so much ass. Given how this film ends, I am hyped as hell to see what they do with Part 2. I cannot wait. While admittedly this movie was screened in film festivals all throughout last year, it finally got a streaming release this year, and coming at my right spot, I have Living with Chucky. For those of you who have known me for a very long time, you will all know that when I was growing up, one of the first horror films I ever saw was the first Child's Play. So the Child's Play franchise has, for that reason, has had a very special place in my heart. While at first, Living with Chucky does come off as just a contemporary documentary that does take a good deep dive of the Child's Play franchise, at the same time, I was not prepared for this documentary to be as personal and a much more emotional documentary than it really actually was. But it also gives a loving look at essentially has become much more of a mom and pop franchise more than ever these days. But a movie that also touches upon how this franchise has not only affected the viewers and the lovers of the fans of Child's Play and Chucky, but also the people who have made these movies, in particular the Gardner family, Tony Gardner, Kira, and their entire family. And by the end, man, I was in tears. If y'all have an Amazon Prime account or a Screambox account, please check this movie out. It is a really, really well-made documentary. And Kira, I know you're in the process of making your first narrative feature. Cannot wait to see it, man. Number 7. Coming on to my number 7 spot is easily the most powerful film of 2023, and that is The Iron Claw. Whether you're a wrestling fan or you're a non-wrestling fan, this is a movie that can be enjoyed by both sides of the coin. And that is because at this film's core is a hard-hitting family drama about these group of brothers that love each other, and they're striving to be the best of the best, with a father that, while he does love them, he is reclaiming, or he's trying to live the glory through his sons, but unfortunately at the best of their physical and their mental health. Without a doubt, The Iron Claw is the most powerful and the most hard-hitting film of 2023. Everybody in this film was absolutely incredible, and every performance in this movie is without a doubt most definitely worth an Oscar nomination. It could have possibly come off as an exploitation piece on really a bunch of tragedies, but the best thing about John Dorgan's directing is that he guides us through this story of the Von Erichs with the most love, care, and tender respect possible. While The Iron Claw isn't the most rewatchable film on this list because the movie is a tough and is a very hard watch, but at the same time, despite this film definitely having me in tears at the end, it's a movie that everybody should see, whether you're a wrestling fan or not. A wonderful movie. Number 6. Coming on to my number 6 spot is easily the best horror film of 2023, and that is Talk to Me. Ever since I started watching Raka Raka, I'd always wondered what it would be like if the brothers had been able to direct their first feature film, and oh my god. Not only do Danny and Michael Philippa take a big swing, but that swing and that hit it massive out of the park. Talk to Me is a massive home run, especially for the horror genre, in particular for this genre, the demonic possession film. The performances all across, especially Sophia Wilde and Joe Bird, who are both brilliant in this film. By the film's ending, I feel like I was watching two brand new voices and filmmaking that I can't wait to see what they do next. Not only was Talk to Me such a well done horror film, but also, fun fact, it's actually quite terrifying. What makes me even happier is this, and get this guys, not only is there a sequel happening to which I cannot wait, but also the Philippa brothers are making a Street Fighter film. And knowing how crazy and how amazing they are with their action videos, I can only imagine how insane Street Fighter is going to be. Well done, Raka Raka. I am down for whatever you want to do next. Congratulations, guys. Number 5. Coming on to my top 5 favorite movies of 2023. These particular films are the films that you all know hit me where I live. And starting with my number 5 pick, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This movie and James Gunn had a lot of pressure, especially knowing that after the events of Endgame, this was going to be the final film of this iteration of the Guardians team, and I'm so happy to say that James Gunn absolutely nailed it and then some. And an MCU that has become so well concerned with connecting every specific plot point, every detail of every other MCU film, Guardians Volume 3 was the only MCU film that was like, okay guys, we're not going to be concerned with connecting other films, maybe setting up for a specific film. This is going to be a movie in which it's going to be a standalone film that only concentrates on this particular story. And what we have here is not only such a well done standalone film, but such an incredible ending to one of the greatest team-ups for characters in a long time in the MCU for the Guardians of the Galaxy. While this movie is dark, it's brutal, it's visceral, but at its very core is a movie that has a beautiful heart. And for a movie that's supposed to be James Gunn's swan song to the MCU, Gunn, phenomenal job. And knowing he's going to be going on to the DCU, making Superman Legacy, I can't wait to see what he's going to do with Superman Legacy. I'm proud of you, James Gunn. I can't wait to see what you do with the DCU. Number 4. This movie not only left me feeling so damn happy, but it left me in a joy. Godzilla -1. I've been waiting for that one Godzilla film that not only bring us great and badass structure scenes with a badass Godzilla, but with great and likable characters that you actually care about. And Godzilla -1 brought us both and then some. I went to this movie knowing it would probably be good, but walking out, I didn't know it was going to be this good, let alone great. Godzilla -1 is without a doubt in contention as the best Godzilla film ever made. I'm going that far, guys. It was intense, it was visceral, but at the same time, it was a riveting and a wonderful film that not only has incredible scenes of amazing badass destruction, but at its center with likable characters, well-written characters that you actually care about, with a story that's not only riveting and thrilling, but emotional and full of so much heart. From what I've heard, the director of this film wants to make a Star Wars film. Lucasfilm, listen to this man and let him do whatever he wants. And if you still have not seen Godzilla -1, please check this movie out as soon as possible. It is incredible. Let's talk about some gun fu. John Wick Chapter 4. I still remember to this day when before the first one came out, I remember everyone going like, that looks terrible. And thank God we were all proven wrong, because John Wick, but not only the first film, not only the fourth film, but the franchise has easily become one of the greatest American action franchises of all time. Something that has always impressed me with each film is how each succeeding film has always reinvented itself with how it presents the action sequences. 4 films into this franchise, somehow the John Wick franchise has somehow found ways to up the ante. And in this particular film, not only with that great and incredible top-down shot, that incredible action sequence in the circle in Paris, and not to mention the action sequence involving the never-ending stairs with Donnie. And not only is John Wick Chapter 4 the best action film of the year, it's one of the best action films of the decade, but I will go as far as saying this. I truthfully do think that Chapter 4 will go down as one of the greatest action films of all time. Chapter 4 ended on such a wonderful and such a spectacular note. Just hearing the notion that they want to continue these films, it just seems very disrespectful to the character of John Wick and to everybody that has worked their asses off on all these films. This movie, bad fucking ass. Number 2. These 2 films I'm about to talk about next were at some point, they were both number 1. I kept shuffling back and forth because, honest to God, I do love both films equally. Both these films are absolutely incredible films, and if I could rank them both as my number 1, I absolutely would. But here's the thing, guys, there can only be one. I gave both these films one more rewatch, and I finally made my final decision. So guys, here we go. Coming on to my number 2 spot, I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse took my mind and my brain and it blew it into a zillion pieces, and it felt like I was watching something that I was essentially like given the honor and the privilege to go see. This movie not only took what Into the Spider-Verse did, but it doubled it down, and what we got here is probably, I mean, arguably maybe the best Spider-Man film ever made. I do think that Into the Spider-Verse hit me slightly, and I mean slightly harder than Across the Spider-Verse did, but regardless, Across the Spider-Verse more than pushed the boundaries of animation, but it exploded the boundaries of animation and gave us an animated film, let alone a Spider-Man film, that legitimately I thought I would never see in my lifetime. And with an ending that made me go like, I have to wait? Across the Spider-Verse kept on battling with my number 1 for at least, like let's say, 5 to 6 months. But after some time, guys, I went with my heart, and my heart picked my number 1. Whether you're a Spider-Man fan, an animation fan, or as a film fan, you need to see Across the Spider-Verse, because not only is this really a groundbreaking film for animation, this movie is just an incredible film altogether, an amazing piece of art.
It's number 1.
Here we are, everybody, coming on to my number 1 favorite movie of 2023. Since I said Across the Spider-Verse was my number 2, you all can probably take an easy guess of what my number 1 favorite film of 2023 is. But before I reveal it, to which, come on, I know you guys are screaming, reveal the damn movie already. Just give me a moment, please. When it comes to me ranking my top 10 favorite films of the year, 2 through 10 are the films that give me the most cinematic ecstasy while watching it, and the most emotional impact, but the most rewatch value possible. But when it comes to my number 1 favorite film of each succeeding year, my number 1 favorite film of the year not only has all 3 of those things, but it has that and then some. There is one other film that hit me just that much harder than Across the Spider-Verse, and that film would be Oppenheimer. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much like the no shit statement, as y'all could probably imagine, but still. As I was watching Oppenheimer, I felt like I was watching a filmmaker that not only was acting at the peak of his artistry in terms of technical filmmaking, but also in terms of his storytelling. Ever since Christopher Nolan gave us Memento, and well, I have not seen Falling, but still, this is a man that has given us classic after classic after classic, even though I'm not gonna deny this, I'm not the biggest fan of Interstellar. I do like the film, and I'm also not the biggest fan of Tenet, again, a film that I really like a lot. I had, to say the least, sky-high expectations for Oppenheimer. This movie took those expectations, and I'm about to use a pun here, this movie blew those expectations not only out of this planet, but out of the freaking galaxy. Christopher Nolan had literally every single tool to use at his disposal, and he used every single tool to its extent and then some, crafting a film that I really believe will be remembered for years to come. I have not seen Christopher Nolan make such a technical achievement since Dunkirk, and even more so when it comes down to the storytelling side. I have not seen Nolan do this incredible since Inception, or even more so since The Dark Knight. Gotta talk about the ensemble. I mean, the ensemble cast of Oppenheimer is one of the biggest and one of the greatest ensemble casts I have ever seen. Oppenheimer is just about 3 hours long, and despite this film being 3 hours long, this movie has so much rewatch value. Not to mention as well that the movie is beautifully shot, but also the music score, which, by the way, the best musical score of the entire year. I love this score so much. I felt like I was watching a filmmaker that was taking everything he learned from his past films that were already classics and applying it to possibly his greatest achievement. And for me, as a lover of film, this is a movie that delivered and then some. And it's a movie I'm going to be talking about for a very, very long time. This is a film that I can easily see over time becoming one of my favorite films of all time. And for those reasons, Oppenheimer is most definitely, without a doubt, my favorite film of 2023. That is going to wrap it up for my top 10 favorite films of 2023. Please comment and let me know below, what were your favorite films there, and also give me a couple of our honorable mentions while you're at it. Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'm also on Twitch. So if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames are in the description below. And not only is that going to wrap things up for my favorite films of 2023, but that also wraps things up for videos on my channel in 2023. Before I say goodbye and let you guys go for the rest of the year, thank you all so much for watching my content in 2023. I know I don't have the most subscribers or the most views on my channel, but I genuinely appreciate you guys watching my content for this year, and I am genuinely excited for what's to come next year. But with all that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed my top 10 favorite films of 2023. If so, press that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell for when the latest review goes live. If you guys want to see my previous year reviews or videos, please click it right there or right there. And of course, until my next review or video goes live, I'll see you all next time. Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys in 2024.